All right, class. First, as always, good day. I'm glad you're here. Today, we're going to talk about opening a banking account. Okay. Now, your warm up. It's on. All these quotes are on your paper as well. It says several quotes. Was like six of them. Your first question asks you um, to read through them and to tell me which one connected with you more. All right. And then the second one to explain why did that quote connect with you. So the first question, write out the quote, you know, who said it, and then the second one is explain why it connected so much with you. Okay. So go ahead, write that out. Uh, Pause the video because we're moving on in three, two, one. All right. In order to create a banking account, you need several things. One is a valid government ID. Two, your birth date, social security, tax identification number. Three, an initial deposit. Four, identification details. And five, co-owner. Okay. Now, do you need all five of these things? Some of them yes, some of them no. Okay, we're going to go through those right now. So, valid government ID. Okay, photo ID. Things like your driver's license, passport, those count. If you have a ID card from the state, you went to the DMV and got an ID card, that counts too. What also counts is if you go into the military and they give you an identification card, you can use that as well because that is a government issued card. Okay. What is not accepted is cards like your Costco card, your library card, your Save Mart, Sam Goods, you know, membership card. That no, that's not a government issued card. Okay. The next thing, your birthday. You should know your birthday. After that, though, your social security. Right? It's a 9-digit number that you guys all have. Um, if you don't know it, you should start to memorize it. Okay, because you will need to know that number for the rest of your life. And it's not good to have the paper, your identification, your social security card on you. Because if you lose your wallet, your purse, someone steals it, whatever, they have that identification number and now they can do whatever they want with it. Okay. If you don't have your social security number, that's okay. You can use your tax identification number. This is the number given when you filed your taxes. Okay. Because again, when you file your taxes, you need to have a social security number. Okay, that's why they accept it. Because if you don't have a social security number, you cannot file your taxes. So they'll take that number as well. Okay. All right. So initial deposit. Some banks don't do this, some do. Basically, what happens is if you open an account, the bank may tell you, okay, we just need you to put in like 25 bucks. Some might say 50 bucks. Some might say 100 bucks. Okay, but it's typically pretty small compared to like, we need you to put in $1,000, $5,000. They won't go do that. But some banks they don't require a an initial deposit. Some like if you basically tell them, hey, I'm going to use this account for my taxes, have it wired to this account. They may not they might not take an initial deposit. Okay, so not all banks take initial deposit, but a lot do. Some do. Okay. The other thing is if you open a joint account, that other person, who, again, the joint account could be 2, 3, 10, whatever. Those people, though, need to show identification as well, the state ID, social security number, all that stuff. Now, there are some pros and cons to a joint account. One of the pros is very convenient. It's basically cash for both you and whoever you're with. The other really big pro is that let's say one of you guys pass away. Let's say you and your boyfriend, girlfriend, fiance, whatever, later on in the future you get married and you guys have a joint account. If one of you guys passes away, the other person can still take out the money. Okay? But if the other person had their own account and you didn't know the password, the legal work to get that money, there's so much paperwork, there's so much hoops and hassle and red tape to go through. It's ridiculous. Okay. The other good thing is you have an extra set of eyes to look at the account. So if there's some fraudulent charges or there's some errors, if you missed it, they may not, and then you can fix those errors, which is very nice. Now we come to the bad parts. Basically, you are now like in a legal binding joint account. So let's say the person you're with uses your account to like launder money, make it clean. So let's say they're into drugs or whatever, and they put money into your account and you use it. You are now an accessory to that. Even though you may not, you can say, "Oh, I didn't know that they were doing that." Yeah, but didn't you ever think how, wow, I got all this money in my account, how to get there, things like that. So that's where some problems could be. You could be legally seen as, hey, you're part of this whole ring of drugs and arms selling and things like that, just because you share an account with somebody and they put money in there. The other thing is, let's say you make $2,000 every 2 weeks. Your person who you try to share the account with may only put like $500, and yet they might be spending $1,000. And you'd be like, wait, you only make 500, and yet you used $1,000. You know, so that's where the next part comes in: heartbreak, and a relationship might be damaged because of this. It happens all the time. The top two reasons people break up: number one is infidelity, and lying and things like that. Two is money. So the last one is co-owner. Now this is typically for people who want to open an account for their children and things like that. A kid can't open their own account, so the parent will have to. Uncle, aunt, or whatever, they would open the account, and they would have to sign all the legal documents saying that they are responsible for whatever's happening, the transactions, the money, and things like that. Um, and it's kind of like a piggy bank for the kids. You can put money in, you can't really take it out because it's their account, but you can start putting money in, you know. So it's pretty convenient. All right, so here's your first question. Would you be willing to open a joint account with a boyfriend or girlfriend that you've been together for 5 years max or lower? 5 years max or lower. Would you have a joint account with them? Okay, not fiance, not husband, wife, just a boyfriend, girlfriend that you've been with for at least 5 years. Well, the maximum of 5 years. Yeah. So what would you do? Would you? Yes, no, why? Explain. Okay. So pause the video, write your response because we're moving on in 3, 2, 1. All right, quick thing on the history of checks. It's actually been around since the days of the Romans, but the way we use it nowadays, it wasn't used that way until the 1760s. Now, here's the thing. Why do we need checks? I've heard this for the past couple of weeks. Well, for one, it saves you money, believe it or not. Some businesses actually charge you extra if you use a credit card. So if you've been to driving around, you see the gas station, they say cash, debit, they give one price, and then like credit, and it's like 10 cents more per gallon. Because again, some places they charge you more for using a credit card. During electrical outages, your debit card probably won't work. It's not going to work. Credit card's not going to work. You know, um, so you either have to do cash or check. So let's say you're going to pay a bill, and oh dang it, the electricity goes out, and you're like, well, I was here. No, there's no transaction happening, so you are going to be, even though it's not your fault, you will be charged late. You have the late charge fees. But if you write a check, it's stamped, it's dated, everything. It's right there and then. Some places like rental companies, they prefer checks and money orders. They don't take cash, they don't take debit card, things like that. And the thing is, money orders, they actually put an extra fee. The lowest I've ever heard is $1.50. Usually, typically, they're like $5. Okay. Um, Also, when it comes to credit cards, some they tell you, well, you have to spend at least $35, $50 to use a credit card. With a check, there is no minimum payment. You could just write it out, boom, there you go. And not the last two things, checks are traceable. So the banks will tell you, hey, a check was cashed in New Mexico. Were you in New Mexico? No, I wasn't in New Mexico. Why would a check be, if I'm here in California, why would it be, why would there be one, why would it be cashed in New Mexico? And you can follow the paper trail. Okay. And lastly, it's good for gifts. If you put money in, say, birthday card, the money drops down and flies away. Anyone can grab that money and take it. But a check is written out to a person. So if someone tries to go to a bank and they say, okay, we need some ID, there you go, gotcha. That's how they know, oh, you didn't, this is not your check. Oh, I'm getting it for somebody who's in the car. We'll bring them out, bring their ID. So there's ways around it. So it's a little bit safer than cash. All right, now here are some don'ts to do on a check. Number one thing, do not write a blank check. A blank check is basically when you write your signature and that's it. Um, there's a movie, I believe it's on Disney Plus now, where this mobster runs over a kid's bike and he basically writes his name on a check, gives it to the kid, says, just fill it out, how much the bike cost. The kid writes out a check for $1 million, and just so happens that's how much the mobster had in his account. So the kid got it. So, and it's true. If someone writes a blank check to you, you can write $10,000, and if they have $10,000, you'll get it. If they only have like 5,000, you'll get the 5,000, and then they'll basically tell the other people, hey, you overdrew. All right. So another thing too that you shouldn't do on a check is never address it to cash, because cash, anyone could cash it in. All right. Now let's say you go to your rental place, place where you rent your apartment and stuff like that. If you write cash on there, they can technically give that check to somebody else and have them cash it in. And when you're there, then they can say, well, we never got it. And if you're like, well, I gave it to you guys, I put in the slot, well, we didn't get it. And it's your word against theirs, and they can show, look, we never cashed the check. And if you go, oh no, look at this check was cashed. Well, who's it addressed to? Is it addressed to the company? No, you wrote cash. That could be anybody. So that's what I mean. They could lie. So that's why you never ever write cash on the check. Okay. The other thing is verify your check, because when you write a check out to a company, they may not cash it that next day or 2 days later. They might wait a week. And if you look in your account, you're like, oh my God, I have like $1,000. Well, if you wrote a $500 check, you technically have only 500. And if you go spending $600, you now are $100 in the hole, and the bank is going to charge you an overdraft fee of like $35. Okay. The next thing not to do is don't lose your checks. Keep them secure, keep them safe, because somebody can forge your name, especially if you don't know how to write in cursive. Somebody can forge your name. It's a lot easier to forge someone's names when you have standard writing as opposed to cursive. Cursive, you can tell, wait, that's not the same signature. And if someone tries to slowly write your name, the ink, that's why ink is important to write checks in, because it dabs. You can see where a person stops. You can see where they took too long or they go too fast. You know, that's why checks are always written in pen, never in pencil. The last thing is post dating. Post dating is a thing that people, I think they still kind of do, but it was more popular in the 70s, 80s, 90s. Basically, you're putting a date far into the future, you know, a week, 2 weeks. So basically, you're telling that person, don't cash this check until that day because I have no money in my account. Wait till that day comes or after. Here's the problem. Some states basically say that if you give your check to somebody, you're basically telling them that you have money in your account and it's okay for them to take the check, cash the check in. Okay, some states are like that, not all, but some. So if you put a post date, it doesn't necessarily mean that, oh, well, I basically should have known that's for a future date. Yeah, but you gave them the check. they have the right to cash it in. Okay, so be careful with that. All right, so here's question number 2. In what order would you prefer to accept a payment from someone? Okay, someone owes you money and they're like, hey, I got the money for you. How do you want it? Number 1 should be the way you prefer to get your money if someone has to pay you back. Is it cash, check, debit card, credit card, digital payment? Digital payment is everything like Venmo, Cash App, PayPal, Zelle. All those apps is considered digital payment. Or cryptocurrency. That's a new thing really coming in now. So how would you prefer? Which is number 1? Like, hey, this is the way I would prefer to get the money. If that doesn't work, then this is okay. And then this one and this. And number 6 should be the one you're like, I'm not too comfortable with that. That's like my least comfortable way of getting money from you or from anyone. Okay. So pause the video, write your response. Okay. And all right, that's the end of this presentation. Now, hold on one second. Let me see if I can make this thing a little bit bigger. No, I don't think the camera thing is going to go. No, it's not. Hold on one second. All right, so now what you're going to do is you're going to get this paper. You should have got this one right here where it says like first attempt, second attempt. All right, now under the first attempt, you are going to write out a check for $150. You're going to write out a check on the first attempt to for $150.50. I forgot the 50 cents part, to Big Bad Mama's Barbecue. Okay, Big Bad Mama's Barbecue. That's who you're writing a check out to. Okay, so first attempt, go ahead and write it out. Okay, so pause the video and write that out. So you should have written it out again to the page, to the order of. You should have put Big Bad Mama's Barbecue. You should have put today's date, the amount of money, $150.50. Now the thing is, where it says dollars, that line right there, that's where you're supposed to spell out 100 $50 and let's see if I can actually do it here. Hold on one second. All right, so your check should have came out something like this, okay? Except I didn't put the date or signature. Big Bad Mama Barbecue, $150 right there, and then you write out 150. Now, oh, I even made a mistake. My bad about that. This is where you would put the $150.50. Now, one of the key things a lot of people mess up on checks is when they put the 50 cents and the 100 and all that stuff, they leave that area blank. That's a no-no because anyone can come in and write down and $36. Okay. Also, speaking of the word and, you never ever put that in your writing. Okay. $150. You never put $150. You guys, when you say a number like 5,622, you'll put and 22. You go 5,622. That's the correct way you're supposed to say it. You don't say and at all. Okay. So when you write your checks, you don't put and. If you need to, you feel like you have to, put a hyphen. That little dash you see, 150. Okay. So that's how your check should look like. If it doesn't, awesome. That's okay. That's why we have a first attempt. Now on the second attempt, which is right there, now try to write it out. $150. Do it like that. Write it your own way. Okay. Now the third attempt is we messed up. Whoops. The check was supposed to be written out for $300. Okay. So on the second attempt, whenever you mess up on a check, you just write on it void. VOID. Okay, you don't tear up a check because somebody can put it together and things like that. You say void. Okay. So that's what you would do on second attempt number 2 because we made a mistake. Write void on there. You can write void right across the whole check if you want. You could write it down a couple places on the check. That's fine. Okay. But now the third attempt, write it out the correct way for $300. Okay. Once you've done that, make sure you turn that paper in with your packet and you'll get the full credit. Okay. So you guys, you take care, you be safe, and I'll see you guys later. All right.